The room is stable and we're ready to begin.
Very good. All right. Well, I'll call this meeting to order of the Oceanside Unified School District Board meeting for October 13th, 2020. Start with a roll call. Vice President Stacy Begin.
Present.
Clerk Eric Joyce.
Present.
Board member Eleanor Evans.
Present.
And board member Raquel Alvarez.
Present.
Great. Thank you guys for being here. First bit of action is to report out our closed session. Our closed session action, we had three actions. Bear with me while I read through this. The first was that we settled two related cases. Government Code 54956.9, Student versus Oceanside School District, OHA's case number 202-00-80089, involving student number 313-107-7836, and settlement amount of $36,000. The motion was carried 5-0 for that settlement action and agreement. The second case involved case number 202-008-0087, student number 159878792, settlement amount of $30,500, and that was approved 5-0 by the board. In our final action, we approved a settlement of $9,000 with employee number 259675 to settle a grievance by the vote of 5-0. And that concluded our closed session action report out for this evening's items. We did not discuss the other items listed on closed session. All right. The next up is, we haven't had this for a while, it's student representatives. Do we have students from, we're starting out listed with Charm Taderan from El Camino High School. There she is. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Please address the board.
Hi, I'm Charm, and I'm the El Camino Vice President. I'm in here in place of our President, Brianna Shea. So during this time, we are making the most of using our social media platforms, mostly our Instagram, to reach out to our students, parents, and staff. So every day we have an activity. We have Mask Monday. Every Monday, El Camino staff and students send in pictures of themselves wearing their masks and promoting social distancing. On Tuesdays, we also have Get to Know Your Peers Tuesday. A random El Camino student is chosen every week, and a small info about them and how their quarantine has been going is posted on our Instagram. We also have What You Eat on Wednesday. Every Wednesday, our ASB Instagram account posts pictures that students send in of their favorite meals. We also have Know That Thing Thursday. This Thursday, we will have a live Kahoot posted on our ASB account for students to test their knowledge on facts about our school. On Fridays, we have Falling for You Friday. Every Friday, El Camino students and staff send in fall memories and flashbacks or just current pictures fall related, and we post them on Instagram. Additionally, we also have two activities, Virtual Music Fest. Throughout the month, we will be having a virtual music fest where we will be posting 90-second videos of students showcasing their musical talents, could be singing, playing an instrument, or dancing on our Instagram account. For our virtual pep rally, our main purpose is to give students something that will entertain and allow them to somehow still feel like we're still in school, considering how virtual learning might not be ideal for some students. And by now, we would have also already had two pep rallies for back to school and homecoming if we were in traditional school setting. Additionally, we're also using this pep rally to hype up our sport games for when we do end up going back in January, hopefully. And for the pep rally, we're also going to have performances from our ECTC, cheer, and choir, and a small message from our principal, Mrs. Frazier, and our ASB president, Brianna Shea. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charm. Next up will be reps from Oceanside High, Gabby Kimbrell and Savannah Horton.
Hello.
Hi. Go.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Gabby.
I'm Gabby Kimbrell, and this is Savannah Horton, and we are the representatives for Oceanside High School.
Gab, do you want to say your position, which you are?
Go ahead.
So first up, we have registration. Registration this year looks a little different. With new regulations between temperature checks, masks, and just a whole new welcome back type of feel.
Next we have sports. All sports right now are practicing, but for sports, everybody is social distancing. We're all wearing masks, and before you go into wherever you're practicing at, everybody has to get their temperature checked. And yeah.
Every Wednesday, our principal, Dr. V, has a show, and there's topics such as graduation requirements, social outlets, how to stay positive, and peer relationships. There are teachers that join, there's counselors that join, and there are also students that join. Just a way that the principal stays connected with his students because this is his first year, and it's a good way for us to get to know our principal.
And he also did ask staff to share their wins during virtual schooling. He did that also.
As an ASB, we really try to promote small businesses during these hard times. So for our first one, we have on September 29th, we had National Coffee Day. So our businesses from Peerview and Banana Dang. Peerview gave us a discount that 50% off for all Oceanside students and staff. And then for Banana Dang, we got 30% off bag of beans. And we also have one coming up tomorrow for National Dessert Day. We have a few businesses that are willing for us to promote them just to make sure during these hard times.
And then for what's coming up next with us is a collaboration with National Alliance on Mental Illness, which is a 2-part session beginning mid-October. And then we also are promoting local businesses in honor of Dessert Day, which is October 19th, as Gabby said. And then we have those, the ones that we're promoting are Oceanside San Luis Rey Bakery. Yeah, none of us know really how to pronounce this, but it's like Fuji ice cream and tea, and it's really hard to pronounce. It's really weird, but that also virtual club rush, which is October 22nd coming up, and Proud Pirates school-wide monthly student recognition based on core values, and that begins October 29th, and then our second virtual pep rally, which is on November 19th, which is also coming up.
And that's all. Thank you.
Great. Thank you both for that report. And finally, for student reports, we have Jada Fullen from Surfside Academy.
Hi. Good evening, school board members, Dr. Vitale, and guests. My name is Jada Fullen, and I am the student representative for Surfside Educational Academy this evening. On September 3rd, Surfside Educational Academy held a virtual back-to-school night. There was good response from families, and we welcome the positive feedback that we received from our parents, such as this one. Yesterday, we went to get materials for Unit 2, and all of your staff were so welcoming and helpful. From Donald to the secretary at the front, to the cafeteria lady, and of course, Tiffany and Miss Flanagan. I just think you guys have something really special here. Our weekly food distribution on Tuesdays and Thursdays at Surfside has been going well. Our security guards, past mentors, and cafeteria staff work very well together to distribute food to our families. They are not only provided with food, but also provided with a friendly smile and good wishes from our staff. Surfside High Direct Instruction is gearing up for the start of the second quarter, which begins on October 19th. The quarter system aids students, helping them with receiving and completing their high school credits in a timely manner. Joy Francis and Suzanne Famia, 2 of our independent study teachers at Surfside, have been doing a social emotional check-in with students called What's Up Wednesdays. They go to various locations to add some fun to their weekly meetings. This week, they'll be having guest speaker Charles Webb. Charles is the is the founder of the Stoke for Life Foundation, an organization dedicated to bringing awareness to the benefits of adaptive water sports through clinics and education. Charles Webb is a T7 through 8 incomplete paraplegic and the first paraplegic to compete in an open water paddle race, that being the 2013 Battle of the Paddle. Charles is also the two-time Western Surfing Association Adaptive Surfing Champion, winning back-to-back titles in 2015 and 2016. Over the summer, our Surfside team worked on interactive student calendars to build parent and community involvement, in addition to assisting in academic planning and goal setting for our Surfside students. Calendars arrived last week, and students are already starting to pick them up. We've already had 2 graduates at Surfside Academy. We're so excited to celebrate with Jesus Chaides and McKenna Garcia, who graduated from the Independent Study Program. These are 2 amazing young people, and we are so proud of their accomplishment and wish them the best for their future. Surfside Educational Academy will be offering a Hospitality 100 course starting in January. This class is open to all high school students in the district, and it will provide students with a positive experience with exploring careers in hospitality, such as restaurant and hotel management, event planning, and various others. It will potentially connect students with local jobs in the industry. If you would like more information about this course, please contact Ms. Ryan at Surfside Educational Academy. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you very much, Jada. That concludes our student reports. Next item is item D, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda tonight?
I'll make a motion.
Got a motion? Do I have a second?
I second.
I've got a second from Member Evans. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No opposed. Motion carries 5-0. All right, thank you guys. All right, next up is superintendent's report. Julie?
Yes, I do have a report, President Blessing, but before that, I'm going to yield just a few minutes to Kathy Kinane from Move Your Feet Before You Eat, just to give us some positive updated information on the virtual turkey trot. And Kathy, you're always so positive, so I'm glad to welcome you to this report.
Good evening, Dr. Vitale and school board members. My name is Kathy Kinane. I'm the organizer of the 14th annual OUSD Turkey Trot, and I'm also the executive director of the Move Your Feet Before You Eat Foundation. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak. Tonight, I'm here to let you know that nothing can stop the trot. These are our commemorative medals for this year, and we want everybody to know that the trot will be held. The trot, which is normally held on Thanksgiving Day, will not be held on Thanksgiving Day. It will be held in a socially distant, anytime, anywhere manner between November 14th and November 29th. The trot will still benefit 80 plus nonprofits, including the OUSD schools. We will continue to encourage all of our registered trotters to allocate $5 of their entry fee to one of our schools or nonprofits. The trot has raised over $370,000 for local nonprofits. As an active member of the Childhood Obesity Initiative, we currently underwrite an individualized at-home or at-school activity program and a Miles of Smiles program. These free Miles of Smiles shoelaces are given to each student that goes 50 miles for each increment of 50 miles in a school year. And we have many studies that have shown the positive impact of daily aerobic exercise on overall mental health. Let's get moving and get smiling. Each student can track their progress online and print out beautiful personalized achievement certificates. The teachers can easily track the progress of these students with 2 or 3 clicks on their keyboard. These free programs, our Student Lap Tracker program and our Miles of Smiles program, are available to schools who reach out to us and are willing to require a minimum of 2 days per week of participation from the students. Each sponsored school will also need to provide at least 3 adults to promote and organize the program. Last year, in fall of 2019, we had 7 schools participate. Some of the highlights were Ivy Ranch averaged 39 miles per student. Kristen McAuliffe averaged 24 miles per student, even with those torrential rains that we had. And North Terrace signed up 870 students. who each averaged 9 miles. This epidemic of childhood obesity is a fairly recent phenomena, which is ruining the health of many Americans. We all need to take action today and every day to move our feet before we eat and choose first-generation plant-based foods to ensure good health. To get more information on our foundation programs that are free to the schools and the Turkey Trot, please reach out to us at osideturkeytrot.com. We can also provide all schools with electronic materials for promotion on their website, social media, or e-blasts. We want to thank you all for helping us get the word out, and happy trotting to all of you. Thank you so much.
Kathy, thank you so much for that. And I look forward to participating in the trot. So we appreciate your time. And I encourage anyone to. Last year, I was in those torrential rains in the trot, the wind and the rain. And so I'm thinking the weather this year, because I get to pick the day, will be a little bit better. So thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
So President Blessing, I do have a report for the board. It's a little bit longer, so you might want to get
Okay.
Okay.
All
So just a little update on COVID, a reminder to the board that the state has set 4 levels for safe reopening of California. The most restrictive is called widespread, and the color is purple. Then red, which is substantial and allows schools to reopen for in-person instruction. Then orange, which is moderate, and yellow, which is minimal. Each county in California is assigned a color every week. San Diego County is in the red. And even though the county is in red, as a city, we have been in the most restrictive tier, which was widespread and purple. The good news is today as a city, Oceanside, we are now in red, the substantial tier for the first time. Our reentry plan is solid and in line with the data. I would like to remind the board that our district, we have a district website on safely reopening and reentry to our schools that has our community updates, our grade level hybrid schedules for when we return to in-person learning, and the most recent county and state guidance documents. Additionally, our district virtual and return to in-person learning guide is on the website, also with frequently asked questions. And on every school website is a parent and guardian handbook specific to every school site for re-entering in-person learning. That is available on every school website. It has information like signage, personal protective equipment, arrival, dismissal, and much more. I want to give you an update on the PPE that we have. And this is not a complete list. This is just sort of the big ticket safety items. We do have, I call them high yield temperature device machines that will be able to circulate through students as they enter campus so that all students will be temperature checked as they arrive on campus. We have plexiglass partitions in our offices and available in our classrooms. We have our portable hand washing stations, which are on site, and very durable quality hand washing stations. I've seen them, they're excellent. We have pop-up tents for outdoor learning and also a required isolation area that we must set up on every campus. Additionally, we have handheld thermometers. We have our electrostatic backpack sprayers that will be used to disinfect our classrooms. Our custodians have received training on those, and those are on site. A new item that we have added, which board, this will surprise you, you weren't aware of this, but this is good news as well. We've been able to purchase and we'll be able to obtain, we're told, fingers crossed, by the end of the month, a HEPA air purifier for every classroom and for every office. This does have a MERV 17 filter, which is the highest quality filter apparently that we can have in these kinds of systems. So we're very pleased to add that to our layers of safety for our classrooms and for our offices. You were already aware that we do have masks available for all students and staff, surgical grade masks, as well as face shields and a variety of face shields for different kinds of educational settings. We actually have 3 different types of face shields. We have hand sanitizers by the gallons in every classroom and offices, touchless hand sanitizers at all of our schools, gloves available, spray bottles in all classrooms with cleaning solution, full gowns for specific staff like health clerks and nurses and some special education staff. And then of course, signage throughout the campus. So that is available and has arrived, and most everything is out and on our campuses. So we are pleased to share all of that with the community. And on October 19th, we will release our safety video so that students understand what to expect when they come back to campus. And we had sample students because we currently have our enrichment students on our campuses now and doing very well. All schools will have a return to campus meeting on October 19th. They will have a meeting in the morning and in the evening. The principals will be sending out sign-up information, so parents and guardians can sign up to engage in that meeting so that you can get site-specific information for your student. That will be on October 19th, both in the morning and in the evening. On October 20th, the district will host a district parent advisory council meeting from 6 to 7:30. An invitation will be sent to all households. This meeting will be held virtually and will give a big picture overview of safety protocols, such as mandatory mask wearing and other things going on if you want the big picture view as to what's happening in the district. As we mentioned, as we talked about at our last board meeting, and the board gave approval for this, we do have secondary students now meeting in small groups in person for that socialization piece. All the secondary schools have created a socialization plan to provide students with the opportunity to engage with their peers outside of the classroom structure. Some of those opportunities are still virtual, but some are in person, as we agreed to support at our last meeting. Examples are various clubs that are meeting, ROTC, marching band, drama clubs, and counseling services. Safety protocols have been designed for each group meeting in person. Two additional updates: our special education team has conducted 159 in-person assessments, and another 400 in-person assessments are scheduled to be completed prior to November 1st. We have disseminated 451 hotspots that service 818 students. We still have inventory, and our school community advisors are communicating with families who state there's still a need for connectivity. We appreciate everyone's patience and understanding during this time, and we are looking forward to welcoming all of our scholars back for in-person instruction. Thank you for the extra time, President Blessing.
Thank you, Dr. Vitale. We'll move on to board reports. Do you want to do that now? Anybody want to start? We've got reports. I'll just call on you. No, anybody want to start? No? Any board reports? We'll go with that. None tonight? Or we can trail it till later?
I'll go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Eric, go for it. Yeah.
So just two things. One thing, I want to thank all the families that have been making it work with all the students that we've had to adjust to the plans that we're in right now. Especially since something that was brought up from a teacher that I spoke with, especially the older siblings of students that have younger siblings that are helping them get to class, that are helping them stay engaged, that are helping them with their homework. I don't think they get called out as much as such an integral part of what's happening right now with our school system. But thank your older brother if you're watching, and don't forget to thank the siblings that are really pitching in and being great older brothers and sisters. So I just wanted to say that. I want to say that we're continuing to learn as we're facing the novel coronavirus. We're continuing to learn every month more and more about its behavior and about who it affects and impacts, and about how we can prevent it and the layers of protection that we're preparing for students to return to. And I just want to make sure that we all stay together in the boat and know that we're moving forward together in a safe way with the best current information. And that's really important that we all stay current and keep each other current if you're following closely, you know people that are working overtime right now in our economy. Uh, make sure that they're getting the best information that you're getting too. So let's keep each other informed. That's part of our civic responsibility. And then the last thing I wanted to speak about is civic responsibility. Voting is coming up. It's happening. Actually, it's current right now. Parents, do everything you can to incorporate your kids in this process and let them know how important it is. There is maybe no more important way to show your voice and to give back to the system than to give an informed vote and to participate in our process and to hold each other accountable and hold us accountable in the process. So please, please, please incorporate that into your conversations over dinner time. And teachers, I hope you're doing everything you can to talk about how important it is to vote, because those messages that you give every year to your students, they sink in and then they become engaged, active citizens as adults. So thank you so much, teachers, for pushing civic duty, and let's get through this.
Thank you, Eric. Eleanor? Your mute's on if you had anything to... There we go.
I do not have a report.
Thank you, Eleanor. Anybody else? Raquel? Stacy? No? Okay, guys. Wonderful. We'll move to consent calendar, item 5A through X, except that I'm going to pull item U because we have a speaker on item U that wishes to addresses us before we vote on item 5U. So can I have a motion on the balance of the consent calendar with the exception of 5U?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
I've got a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none. All right. Motion carries 5-0 on the balance of the consent calendar. Item 5U, Mr. Madison.
All right, thanks. So Todd Madison, parent of Oceanside Kids, and as disclosure, a candidate for school board in this election. A simple question on this one. I see we had a number of bids here, some of which were almost $2,000 less than the chosen bid. Those low bids were all disqualified for a clerical error, according to the notes. There's probably more to this, but that makes it sound like someone simply missed a blank on a form and now we're going to spend $200,000 more for this project. I know you can't spend bond money on supplies, but just to give everyone some reference here, that money is enough to provide our teachers with $250 each for classroom supplies. I'm sure our teachers understand what they could buy for that, and all would prefer that to not having to paying out of pocket or asking parents to donate. I assume the issue is more than just missing a checkbox somewhere, but I'd like to ask, what kind of clerical error disqualified those bids, and why would we not allow that to be corrected so we can consider saving $200,000 to use on other things? Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Madison. Staff have an explanation?
Yes,
On the bid?
Dr. Soto is going to explain how the bid process works and the legalities that we're required to be involved in. Dr. Soto?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Vitale. Thank you, trustees. Procurement for governmental work is a very specific and legal process. And so when we engage in entertaining and advertising for bids, it has a very specific compliance in order for us to award a bid. And it typically, if a bid is considered unresponsive, it indicates that a required element was not submitted. And the required element is typically considered clerical in the term. However, we are not allowed to consider non-responsive bids. If we were to consider allowing a vendor to correct the error, resubmit, we would be guilty or liable then for any and all future repercussions from the other vendors that were responsive. And so when we engage in the process, we advertise for the scope, and then we are very specific about the criteria for award. And we are very methodical and have multiple raters that grade and acknowledge the responsive contracts before we bring them to the board for award and for consideration. So it is a very strong governmental process that is something that we adhere to, and we take our bidding process very serious, and we acknowledge that if a vendor is non-responsive, that they are given the opportunity to understand why, to correct it in the future.
I would also chime in there and assume that on some of these errors that are submitted, that they in fact are potentially errors of magnitude in terms of dollars on the bids, and that therefore their non-responsiveness could very well be something that could lead to the bid being higher than even $200,000 off in the bids that were submitted. Is that the case that you find it on occasion?
Absolutely, trustee. And another area that we find being non-responsive is if we're requiring a specific certification or a specific licensing, and that is missing or not at the level that we have addressed, then that could be problematic if we were to award it to a firm that brings in a smaller amount but doesn't actually have the qualifications. So it could come back to be a liability for us if we did not adhere to the stated requirements that was posted.
Great. Thank you very much for that clarification. Do I have a motion to approve item 5U? Excuse me.
I so move.
Got a motion. Do I have a second? Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thanks, Steph. All right. The next item is a presentation. Item 6A, Proposition H, Bond Projects Update. We'll have a staff presentation. There's no action related to this item, just a presentation by staff, and we do have a speaker or two after the presentation.
Excellent. Thank you. As the presentation begins to load, I will start by saying good evening, President Blessing, Superintendent Vitale, and esteemed board. Tonight, staff will be presenting an update to the Prop H bond projects, along with an update to the San Luis Rey modernization project. And with that, we'll begin our presentation. Next slide, please. So tonight, we will start with the current remaining Prop H bond funds, along with a timeline and photos that highlight some of the bigger projects that have been completed to date, followed by updates on the projects at El Camino, Oceanside High School, and Jefferson. We will conclude the presentation with some updated information about the status of the modernization at San Luis Rey. Next slide. So let's review the current bond funds. We have currently received Series A through F in the amount of $182.4 million under Prop H. Of that, we have spent approximately $131 million, leaving us a balance of $47 million. We anticipate one last series to be sold in 2022 for a total amount of $12.5 million, which will bring our total funds to $195 million, which is the Prop H authorization, the amount required that we are allowed to expend. We have a total of just under $60 million as indicated on this slide, but we have encumbered approximately $30 million of that. So that leaves us with approximately $30 million remaining of the 2008 Prop H funds. Next slide, please. So we wanted to begin with a reminder and demonstrate all the great work that has been completed under Prop H. And with that, you'll see that this timeline is on the bond website and shows the progression of projects. And you can see that Prop H was passed by the voters in 2008 and that the projects that have been completed since then. The projects shown as completed in 2008, such as Chavez and El Camino, actually began under Prop G and concluded under Prop H. And just as amazing, just as a reminder of all the amazing projects that have completed, staff would actually like to highlight a few of our most prominent projects. Next slide, please. So Lincoln Middle School was built in 1963 and was modernized in 2010. And Lincoln is the district's second oldest middle school. The work included fully modernized classrooms, multi-purpose room, and library. All old and deteriorating modular classrooms were replaced with new modular classrooms. construction of a new boys and girls locker building, student and staff restrooms, a new vehicle entry, parking lot, play areas including fields, and ADA improvements completed the upgrades for this campus. Del Rio Elementary was built in 1973 and modernized in 2010. The existing multi-purpose room was fully renovated, and old relocatable buildings were replaced with new permanent facilities. In addition to new classrooms and administration support buildings, site improvements included a new front entry parking lot off of North River Road. Next slide, please. Santa Margarita was built in 1961 and modernized in 2011 and was comprised largely of portable buildings that were far beyond their useful life. These buildings with the new up-to-date classroom buildings. The multi-purpose room and library were completely renovated. The campus was reconfigured to include a new kindergarten area, new front entry and parking, and new playgrounds. The school was expanded to accommodate the children from the new base family housing and to provide additional classrooms designed for scholars with special needs. Libby Elementary School was built in 1965 and modernized in 2012, also underwent a complete renovation, including fully modernized classrooms and library, as well as a new multi-purpose room with a new cafeteria. New additional kindergarten classrooms and a parking lot with student drop-off area, including playground improvements, were seen under the Libby project. Next slide, please. Mission Elementary was built in 1953 and modernized in 2013 and had a complete modernization of existing classrooms, restrooms, and the food service multi-purpose room. Several classrooms and the main administrative office were demolished and replaced. The library was moved to a larger, modernized building, and the former library space was converted to a classroom to serve scholars with special needs. Traffic flow around the school was improved, and parking was expanded. Palmquist Elementary was built in 1962 and modernized in 2013. It consisted of modernizing existing classrooms, food service multi-purpose room, and restrooms. 4 new kindergarten classrooms were added in a new location on campus that included a separate drop-off and playground area. The Library Media Center, administrative offices, and special education classrooms were all expanded. Site improvements were made to provide new parking and bus drop-off as well. Next slide, please. North Terrace, built in 1956 and modernized in 2012, has been entirely reconstructed with new up-to-date classroom buildings and student restrooms. Several classrooms were converted to classrooms for scholars with special needs, and additional classrooms were added to accommodate an expanded academic program serving preschool through grade 8. The multi-purpose room was completely renovated, and a new, larger library media center was added. This project also included a new main entrance located on base at Santa Rosa Drive, as well as a new parking lot and new play areas. Adult transition program known as ATP at CB, built in 1971, received some renovation in 2019 and included bringing 2 restrooms into ADA compliance, replacement of the roof and HVAC equipment, and upgraded the fire alarm system and some seismic upgrades as well. Next slide, please. These are photos of our beautiful new playgrounds at McAuliffe, Ivy Ranch, and Reynolds, and included play areas in kindergarten, primary, and secondary, and resolved the draining issues that each site had. Next slide, please. October 2010 was instrumental for OUSD as we completed upgrades at both our high school athletic fields. The El Camino athletic field improvements included a new synthetic turf athletic field and 9-lane track, ADA accessible seating on the home grandstand, and over 1,100 additional visitor seats, a ticket booth, and the addition of a visitor's concession booth. The project also addressed ADA upgrades, an upgraded parking lot, and new field lighting. The stadium plaza improvements provided additional lighting, fencing, a retaining wall, and stairways. At Oceanside High School, the project consisted of a new athletic facility, including a weight room, locker room, restrooms, ticket booth, grandstand and press box. New visitor bleachers were added along with a new PA system and field lighting. Next slide, please. Oceanside High School received modernization in the form of career, technology, and the technology building, music building, and the performing arts center known as the PAC. For the Career Tech project, 2 classroom buildings were added to allow for expansion of the career technology educational program. The music building project provides a new acoustically improved building to accommodate the band and choir, and then the amazing Performing Arts Center opened in 2018 and is a 500-seat theater with a ticket office, black box theater, green room, recording studio, classrooms, and indoor plaza. Next slide, please. Moving on now to El Camino High School, the Prop H project's currently underway. Varsity softball field improvements. This project under our bond construction management team of CCM Moss provided a new field, 2 new dugouts, connectivity between the varsity and JV fields was sod throughout, new fencing, and a new walkway around the fields, as well as upgrading the landscape and addressing the drainage issues in the surrounding areas. The gym project was started immediately following the softball field and is a roof, HVAC, and bleacher replacement project. As a reminder, this project started when the gym was flooded due to the excessive rains and required the replacement of the existing gym floor. This project required a replacement of the entire roof. It has been a multi-phased, multi-scoped project that not only included the roof and HVAC, but also includes the gym floor replacement, new bleachers, painting of the interior of the gym and lobby, and creating a girls' team room is included in the project. This project is now considered a new gym. Next slide, please. To continue with the interior photos of the gym, this is the new completed gym floor, newly installed fans, and ongoing bleacher installation. The picture in the middle displays a mural of a wildcat, and the stands itself, the bleachers, indicate that this is definitely wildcat country. Next slide, please. Moving on to the Truax, the theater lobby was upgraded with fresh new look with new paint, carpet, removal of the trophy cases, and installation of video monitors and upgraded lighting. The theater also received attention that included refurbishing the theater seating with additional seat aisle lights, replaced all the flooring, and fresh paint on all the walls. House lighting was upgraded to energy efficient LED lights. This project also included the dressing room where upgrades were applied to the floor, lights, counters, and included new paint as well. The same attention was given to the restrooms in the dressing room as the lobby. The leaky roof was fixed and internal components of all 8 HVAC units have been completed. Next slide, please. Additional Prop H bond projects at El Camino High School include attention to the music building, gym locker room, and gym exterior water protection project. The music building located within the Truax will get the same improvements. The roof will get replaced and the classrooms will receive new flooring, paint, ceiling tiles, and LED light fixtures. Doors and door hardware will be adjusted. For the gym, the locker room part of the building will be include the lockers getting refurbished, fresh paint throughout, ceilings refreshed, floors polished, new LED lighting, and a replacement of 4 exhaust fans. In addition to that, the water protection project will provide the entire exterior of the gym with a sealant and anti-graffiti coating to prolong the lifespan of the gym. Next slide, please. Leaving the Wildcats and moving over to the Pirates, we'll show you what is planned at Oceanside High School. Oceanside High School will have a roof and HVAC replacement very similar to what we completed at El Camino. This project is currently at the Division of State Architects known as DSA for review and approval. We will be replacing the roof over the gym and 2 HVAC units. In addition, we will be addressing the leaks that are occurring in the windows in the gym and in the atrium as well. We will be encompassing the entire gym with a sealant paint similar to ECH to prevent moisture from seeping and continue the life of the gym. Next slide, please. Jefferson Middle School received some attention as well this past summer in preparation for modernization. Over this past summer, some demolition work was completed on the Jefferson Middle School campus. Most notably, this work included the complete removal of Building K, which is the original locker room building, and included a new fence along the grade change. We also removed Building H, which was a small pod of portables behind the MPR. Both areas received new asphalt where the buildings were. In preparation for modernization, we have recently completed the request for qualification process for several professional services, which include civil engineering and geotechnical. We have also engaged in services with a hazardous assessment company and looked to our pool of architects to provide us with some ideas of what a modernization could look like at Jefferson. We will be bringing you more information at a later date regarding Jefferson's modernization. As of September 30th, we have spent or encumbered $131 million from Prop H from 2008 to the present. Now we will provide an update on SLR. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Penny McGrew, Bond Program Manager from CCMOS, to share information about the San Luis Rey modernization.
Thank you, Dr. Soto. Good evening, President Blessing, board members, Dr. Vitale, and guests. In keeping in line with Dr. Soto, San Luis Rey was built in the early 60s, I think 62 or 63. But we've been busy there getting neck deep in the modernization. So we begin with an aerial view of the existing campus. Next slide, please. Before we talk about the many activities that we have going on, I wanted to provide a brief reminder of the phases of design. And we start with programming, where the design team learns from various groups at the school, along with needed district personnel, about the educational programs at San Luis Rey, how they currently function in the anticipated classroom loading, special requirements, and what is and isn't working. In schematic design, the design team takes all of that information and looks at adjacencies where certain spaces need to be located relevant to other spaces. They also begin to translate that information into an efficient building design. In design development, room sizes, interior and exterior layouts, and most materials are selected. In construction documents, the architectural team develops the plans and specifications for the project that we can bid and give to a contractor, and he has the understanding of how to build it. At DSA, which is the state architect, we submit those plans and they review them and approve them, and they look for structural, fire, life safety, and ADA compliance. From there, we're ready to bid and then begin construction. Next slide, please. We have several committees that are part of the modernization project. The executive committee consists of designated district staff representatives, the school principal, bond management, and the architect. The planning committee consists of staff identified to represent personnel, and the focus groups are staff members that we would consider subject matter experts in a particular educational program. Our job is to keep them informed about what we're doing and the overall process of the design. We've had a total of 15 formal meetings and numerous impromptu meetings in the last 4 months to accomplish what we needed to complete in the programming phase. Next slide, please. We've completed the programming phase of design, and I'll talk to you about that in the next slide. The architectural team has also done a facility assessment that included investigating the systems that are in place, like HVAC, the existing room sizes, location of spaces, circulation, path of travel, and potential locations for interim housing. The picture on the top right of your screen shows a mechanical engineer inspecting the HVAC units. In addition, we completed 3 requests for qualifications for civil engineering, hazardous assessment, and geotechnical engineering. The civil has completed their survey and identified existing utility locations and has obtained the title report for the property. The picture to the bottom right of the screen shows the site plan with boundaries and utility locations. The hazardous assessment company has completed their information and has provided a report. All of this information has been submitted to the architectural team to assist them in the development of the project. We've not engaged the geotechnical firm yet, as we are not quite ready for them. Next slide, please. So back to programming. With the help of Dr. Aranda, the principal, we identified key personnel to be a part of our focus groups, and Dr. Soto assisted us in identifying those district employees that could also assist. There were 7 focus groups, which you see before you. We met with each group over the period of 2 days and gathered pages and pages of notes. We then went back and put what we heard into a rough order of magnitude and a site plan. This helps us to see what spaces are needed and what we can afford. We had to reach out to people within the focus groups or Dr. Aranda on several occasions to make sure we understood the information that we gathered. Once we were complete with this step, we met again with the planning committee to present the programming efforts and to validate that what we heard was accurate. We received their approval. Next slide, please. What you see before you is the existing site at San Luis Rey. On the right side of the drawing shows the current space utilization and enrollment capacity. It also shows overall how many instructional spaces are needed. We calculated it at 33. Next slide, please. This is the exciting one. This site plan shows you what we're proposing to include in the modernization. The bullet points to the right show a high-level list of work to be done. An easier way to visually see what the modernization will include is to look at the little circles on the drawing. Each circle represents an area that will be touched. The blue boxes are indicative of a new space. I want to bring special attention to the front entry, where we are providing a new administration building that will enable the school to have a single point of entry where people will have to enter the site through the administration building and get onto the campus from a door that exits that same building. There are many exciting things about this project, but another that I'd like to point out is that we believe we can provide a new, larger stage for the VAPA program, and that allows us to enlarge the multipurpose room to accommodate more scholars at one time. Next slide, please. Lastly, we want to provide you with the next steps. The timeline for getting through the rest of the design should be summer of 2021, with the Vision of State Architects submission directly following. We anticipate a 6-month review at DSA, but we really don't have any control over that. Once approved, we'll go out to bid and begin construction with an anticipated start time of early 2022. We have moved into schematic design and are meeting later this week with nutrition services and the kitchen design consultant to get that ball rolling. We've been in contact with several modular companies and to find the best modular fit for the ones we are replacing and for the interim housing. And finally, we have begun to develop the construction logistics plan. At this time, I'd like to ask Dr. Soto to conclude the presentation. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Penny. Esteemed trustees and Superintendent Dr. Vitale, thank you for the time to share the amazing work concluded and in progress with the Prop H funds. As we presented this evening, we have completed many projects with our Prop H funds, and we look forward to continuing the work that has already begun at San Luis Rey. As Penny mentioned earlier, the modernization process is a process with many steps involved, and a typical modernization timeline can take up to 2 years before we even begin physically being on the campus and addressing the site. Trustees, as I mentioned earlier, this is an information item only to inform the board at updates, and staff is available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Are there any questions of staff right now? We do have some public comments, I believe. So you want to have questions now, or should I go to public comments?
Go to public comment first, and then we'll.
Okay, great. Ann, you want to call out the first speaker? Or do we have?
Okay, we have. We have two speakers on this item,
Great.
Larry Berry and Michael Real, and they will come in that order.
All right. We'll wait for them to get connected in.
Voting somebody that has just the first name of Larry listed, but he's the only Larry, so.
All right, that's a good guess.
Larry, if you're Larry Berry, you're free to address the board.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go for it, Larry.
Yeah, my name is Larry Berry. I live on 3973 Brown Street. I'm really disappointed in Sharon Soto here, and quite frankly, I talked to her last week, and she left out so many things here. It's just disgraceful. One of the things Mike Blessing and I have a disagreement with is the San Margarita and North Terrace, that the citizens of Oceanside paid for those schools, and we've never received 1 penny from the in repayment for those schools. I think and one of the things that Sharon Soto left out is that she's refinanced these bills, these the bond issues. So we were promised these things were never going to go over $58.38 per $100,000. It's now over $100 per $100,000, and it goes out to that and we refinance these things or defibulize them, whatever they call it and stuff. And now it's out to over 40 years. They're going to be paying on these deadbeat schools. Again, Sharon Soto disappoints me once again, and she never mentioned Garrison. Garrison is a crap hole right now with graffiti and theft and homeless people living in there. And, I know she wants to sprinkle this with just being happy-go-lucky. Here we go. We're, everything's rosy here, but it sucks. We also have a problem with, I think the school with the, and I go back to Todd Madison on that envelope that they're doing way out of control here in money wise for what they're doing. And I just have to say, our team that's supposed to be watching over how much this thing costs, I get it. I've been doing this for 25 years, watching the school bonds. I know everything that government does, schools included, cost 2 or 3 times more than what it should cost. But this is just getting so out of control, and I don't believe that Sharon Soto has those numbers right. My numbers keep coming back up that we only have about $23 to $26 million left in Prop 8. Now I want to go back to what Mike Blessing said and Larry Pirani, that said Prop 8 was going to finish all of was going to give us all the money that we needed to fix all of our schools, and we wouldn't need this ever again. Well, I'll tell you, Mike, it didn't work out so good. We're stuck with these crappy schools, and people are walking around, and the FID here is probably screwing up everything, but we have lost so much money, and the taxpayers are getting screwed over big time here. And those people in Garrison and St. Louis Ray, because we built schools on Camp Pendleton. Now I'm a combat veteran Marine, Mike, and you are not. And we have to look out for the taxpayers here. And again, the taxpayers are getting screwed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Berry. I don't agree with all those comments, but you have the right to present those arguments. I will say, as a point of reference, of the 2008 bond, I was not on the board when that bond was put together and passed in June of 2008. I came on the board in that following November, and I don't believe there was a promise that every school in Oceanside would be rebuilt with Prop H. I'm certain that's not a promise that was made. There certainly was a list of all the schools that could have eligible projects built with Prop H, including playgrounds and HVAC and what have you, so that we could spend money from Prop H as needed, as the board decided was needed at each and every school. And we significantly remodeled and rehabbed several of them, as Shannon pointed out, the big picture. But by no means was there a promise in 2008 that every school would get rebuilt with one-time money from Prop H. That simply is not true. Next speaker, Michael Real.
Good evening, Board Trustees. My name is Michael Rail. I'm an Oceanside taxpayer, resident of Oceanside, and also a teacher at San Luis Rey. Thank you, Dr. Soto and Ms. McGrew, for your presentation. It's exciting to see the beginning works of our San Luis Rey project beginning to take shape. There are, however, several suggestions that I would like to make regarding the preliminary layout of the school. These suggestions have been already made to several modernization planning committee members, but I believe these suggestions need to be explicitly stated to you as the 5 members governing over our current project. My first is the NPR needs to address width as much as it does length. The current plan expands the length of the NPR in order to provide more depth to the stage to make more room for scenery and performers to move. This is accurate, and additionally, there is a need to widen the stage with the wings to include all the performers on a given scene, not to mention the need to make more room for the cafeteria to serve lunches. This is especially needed in COVID times. Lastly, the wider building would also encompass more room for our cafeteria workers in order to make room for their ability. And also, if we are looking at a VAPA facility, this would increase our ability to bring our culinary arts program that we have been wanting for some time now, and it's always been an idea, but we really want to make all the potential as needed at this school. As far as the kindergarten, the second is the kindergarten building. The area should be redeveloped in such a way to encompass all 3 of the classrooms to increase collaboration. There shouldn't be a lone kindergarten building on the side. If there is not a way to solve that, then I would suggest that putting a second classroom with that 3rd building so that it would increase collaboration amongst teachers and people don't feel left out and just by themselves in a classroom. There will be a need to resolve the kinder playground, and this could easily be solved by utilizing, there's already 2 playgrounds, the primary and the secondary playground. We could continue to do that and use those, or use the primary playground and not have a separate kindergarten playground. The third suggestion is there's a need for the teacher workroom and the lunchroom to have more collaborative space. There is a current wall that's in between on the projected. It's right now it's a current classroom, but it's the one next to the library. That space should be a little bit more, should be open space for teachers in order to collaborate and know that there's schools like that at South Oceanside where the teacher workroom is also in the teacher lunchroom or the staff lunchroom in order to promote that collaboration space. There's not a lot of room in between classrooms, as you can see in your drawings that other 21st century classroom or schools have. So it's really important to have those collaborative spaces and make the most of what we have. And the last is that the admin building that currently is in place, I had spoken to several committee members as well as Dr. Aranda regarding the green room in the back of the stage in order to help facilitate backstage work that has to be done, and also for students to get to and from the stage. This would also serve as a classroom with mirrors in order to have a dance classes. We do have some community members that are asking for what kind of dances dance classes we would be able to offer, and if we are going to be offering as far as programming wise, we will need mirrors so that it's the best way to teach students dance.
Thank you, Michael. You've hit your 3 minutes. All right, sir. I appreciate it. Okay. All right. Amongst I lost the time frame on that. I wasn't seeing it on my calendar. Sorry about that, guys. But appreciate everybody respecting the time frame. We all have to follow the rules, and I'm sure you can convey more information to the process as it unfolds further. Any other discussion amongst the board members? That was a great presentation. I thank staff for making it. I think you covered all the bases there of what Prop H has done. Obviously, there's some disagreement in the community, but that's always healthy. If it's not always welcome, but anything else? Otherwise, we'll be ready to move on to the next item.
No, nothing. I was a teacher at Libby Elementary, and to look at the renovations after, it is awesome. I mean, our schools, we still have schools that need a lot of work, and the ones that have been renovated, they look amazing. So
They really do. Yes. Yes, indeed.
Okay, it is exciting to see development going on. My comments or questions are not quite as rigorous as what the speakers presented, but I'm just curious, like for El Camino High School, the completed project with the theater and the seats are red, the carpet is red. And I know it's in Oceanside High School as well that it was, I believe, red. Why is it that we don't use school colors for our performing arts buildings? I know yellow would be a hard color to maintain, but brown or derivatives of brown, or even
They had brown
derivatives of yellow.
seats and all brown old wood seats, I think, weren't they?
Dr. Soto, can you comment on that, please?
Yes.
I'm serious.
Thank you, Trustee.
I'm just curious, but I'm serious.
No. Totally appreciate the question. I think it's a valid question. But look, we were going for with Truax was a classical theater. So what we have is a black and red theater, which is indicative of a more formal theater and not school spirited. And so it was more in line with a community type of theater. And so that's where we wanted to embrace the classiness behind it, and for no other reason than we saw that as a potential to make this really involved with our community, since there's so many events in that.
And my second curiosity question is, you said you added more chairs to the theater. I didn't hear that.
Not added chairs. What we did is we refurbished the chairs, and basically we supported some of the chairs that were having some issues that wasn't quite as comfortable, and then we changed the fabric, and then we painted all chairs. So that's where that kind of blackish comes into the shiny black with the red fabric.
That's good economics. All right, thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
Great. Any other questions? All right, thank you, guys.
Okay, I have a couple questions.
Oh, yeah.
Shannon, I have a quick question. We were talking on page 4 of the presentation when you talk about the balance and cash on hand for future. Can you explain that final number of how we get to that number again, please?
Sure, absolutely. So on page 4, what you're looking at here is we're taking how much of the 195 million are we actually have in our possession, meaning how much was issued and authorized. Remember, we have one more authorization, which is that number of 12.5 million that we're planning to go back out in 2022 for the remaining amount. So if you look at the 182 million, trustee, we have, of the 182 million, we have spent 131 of it, and then we've encumbered just under 4 million. So that leaves available right now 47 million cash on hand. That does not mean that that's sitting in the bank ready to go. That means that that's available under Prop H. Of that, we have encumbered, meaning we've set aside money of approximately 30 million. So don't forget, we've got San Luis in modernization. We're finishing up El Camino. We've got some projects going at OHS. So these are things that of that remaining amount, we actually only have approximately half that would be available for other projects. not included in this conversation is Jefferson, right? So we would like to be able to say, well, the remaining amount, some of it would be allocated to Jefferson as well.
And that's only if that that we don't go over because of whatever needs or anything like that with San Luis Rey if we find out if something comes up, correct?
That we have a budget for San Luis Rey that's included in this. We're hoping to stay on budget with that, but yes.
Is that part of the 30 million that you're referring to?
Yes, trustee, that's part of the 30 that's encumbered.
Okay, any more questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm worried about Jefferson because it sounds like we're going to start construction on San Luis Rey 2 years from now. I don't know if we're not, if Jefferson is even further down the line, then we're talking 3 or 4 years from now. So much can happen facilities wise in 3 to 4 years. Where I would really like a more detailed look at where we're at on Jefferson and where, because I would like to see that ball rolling as soon as possible so that that does not get to be the short end of the stick because we've run out our pockets. Jefferson is absolutely essential that it gets modernized. It shouldn't have been this deep in the bond, in my opinion. I was not in the position to make that decision earlier, but either way, I'm really worried that it gets shorted because of the run. So can you explain a little bit how we can, what we're looking at timeline wise and how we can make sure that does not happen?
I understand the concern, trustee. Right now, we're engaging in environmental and geotechnical reports on the ground at Jefferson. So what we'd like to do, similar to what we did to San Luis Rey, is ensure that all the environmental reports have been completed prior to us addressing the modernization. That just ensures that everything is has been addressed prior to us bringing any action to move forward with Jefferson. So, and what we did with San Luis Rey is we ran them concurrently. We knew that we had Garrison that was going to be moving into San Luis Rey, and we needed obviously San Luis Rey to be modernized as soon as possible to house the number of scholars that were on there. So we had to run those reports concurrently with modernization. Jefferson would like to get a little bit ahead of it and like to make sure that everything has been addressed prior to us discussing the modernization. With regards to modernization, we've started prepping the actual site, hence some of the demo work on the buildings that are no longer viable in preparation for that. It is the recommendation right now that we continue with the assessment reports at Jefferson as we start to move into further conversations about about the modernization and starting, to look at potential for Jefferson. But right now, the money is still remaining in Prop H.
So this is just my 2 cents, and obviously I think we need to have more conversations about this very soon, because maybe we need to do phases to make sure that we get some of Jefferson at least taken care of. Again, we don't get shorted on the back end of who knows. I mean, given this year, I won't even take a guess at what next year's going to look like. I'm not even trying. So I just want to make sure that our scholars at Jefferson that have been needing an updated classroom space to be proud of, that we make sure that that is a priority and we get that done as soon as possible. So thank you.
So one of the things I want to share with you is that Shannon and her team have been leading and moving forward the Jefferson project. We do intend to bring more specific information back to the board very soon. Remember, one of the complexities and questions that you asked us to solve was the entrance to Jefferson. So we have some teams that have worked on some very interesting solutions to that. So we're just trying to figure out how to package this all together and bring it to you and at an appropriate timeline. So that will be coming soon. You see, I'm not committing to a timeline, but I do believe it will be before the end of this calendar year. And our intention with this presentation was to not only inform you of all the projects that were completed with H, but to specifically give you that update on SLR because so much is done before dirt gets moved, and we wanted to make sure that the boarding community was aware of that, and that also we're moving that Jefferson project forward. So we will be bringing you that information. And from what I've seen so far, we have some really good solutions and some very exciting possibilities.
Well, I'm very excited.
Great.
I'm going to go regress. I'm going to go back to San Luis Rey. Real quick, is there a way, Dr. Soto or Ms. McGrew, to get some larger, or because I know that Mr. Rael was looking at some obviously pictures of some diagrams and stuff that we're not looking at, or that we can't see as clearly as obviously he can. Is it possible to go ahead and get those things that he's looking at, or was he given something differently than maybe the board is seeing? So, because his pictures, from what he's describing, I can't see on my paperwork that I'm looking at. So is there a possible way just to enlarge it and then so we can see what he's looking at and understand what he's talking about?
Trustee, I'm unfamiliar what he's actually referring to. So we can circle back with the architect to find out. I think there was some discussion in the planning committee that I believe is just what you're seeing here. But we definitely can enlarge this so that you've got a better visual of what this is looking like currently.
Yeah, and I think this is more what I'm asking for, because it's hard to see on the stuff that we've got in front of us. And so to kind of be able to see what he was talking about, I'd like to be able to see it a little more clearly if possible.
We'll get those larger images for you. Yep.
Great. All right, are we ready to move on, colleague? All right, item 7A. It is a ratification of a memorandum of understanding between the Oceanside Unified School District and the California School Employees Association and Chapter 370. Begin with a staff presentation. You have one speaker, I believe, on this item. Staff?
Right, good evening, school board. My name is Todd McAteer. I'm the Associate Superintendent of HR, and I'm very pleased to bring to you an example of what happens when the district works collaboratively with our unions. We have in front of you for your consideration 7A, our memorandum that regards our safety plan for returning back to reentry. I'd like to thank Letitia Gibbs and Dr. Soto for their work at putting together what I would describe as a very thoughtful and comprehensive safety plan that puts our employees' safety first as we get ready to welcome students back and begin our work again as educators. And this is for your board's consideration.
Great. Thank you. Should we have the speaker? Ann, will you call the speaker, please?
Todd Madison.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Todd Madison again, parent of OUSD kids, still a candidate for school board. I'm glad we've come to an agreement with the CSA to keep our employees safe. We Todds have to stick together. I think this looks like a good agreement that helps everyone. I agree with them. I'm glad to see item 1A says we'll be adhering to the guidelines issued by the Department of Public Health. Those guidelines appear to have proven effective at protecting kids and staff from COVID. Last week, the Health and Human Services Secretary said we have not seen a connection between increased transmission and school reopening or in-person learning. He also said we're looking at the information to see if there's a connection and so far have not found one. This is the best current information. We now have MOUs for both labor groups. Perhaps the board can ask the district why we haven't seen a plan for safe full-time return yet. I also like item 3, screening. This also follows CDPH guidelines. It's very similar to the outline of screening procedures published by Del Mar Union, a district that has now been back to school full-time for over 4 weeks. The precautions being taken by Del Mar have been so successful, they've had 0 cases among staff, and today show 1 active case among students. I commend the CSEA and district for including such provisions in the document. With those precautions, the Del Mar schools case rate is about 18 times lower than the case rate in the zip codes surrounding their schools. It seems the best way to protect Del Mar Union staff and kids is to put them in school, where the protection measures are more stringent than the precautions outside schools. Since Del Mar Elementaries are exactly the same size as Oceanside Elementaries, perhaps we should do the same for our staff and kids to protect them from COVID the same way they're doing it in Del Mar. Lastly, I appreciate the accommodation provisions of item 6A. Speaking as a cancer survivor myself, I understand the picture is different for high-risk individuals, and I like seeing OUSD accommodate that. That's exactly what the parent group advocating for a plan for safe return has been suggesting since June for all OUSD staff. While I've been knocking on doors, I've spoken to a number of CSEA members. All express the same sentiments we hear from our teachers as well. They want their kids to be back in school. They want to be back in school with them. Last week, CBS 8 held a panel discussion, including experts from Rady's Children's, the county school superintendent, the San Diego district attorney, and others. Rady said, well, we're worried. It's not a big enough worry to keep kids from going to school. And the county superintendent said, there has not been a spread inside a school, an outbreak in a school, or community transmission in a school. Anyone can watch that discussion online if you want to see what the best current information is. Now that we have the proper MOUs in place for both groups, perhaps it's time for the district to present a plan for full-time return to our board for examination and discussion. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Madison. We need a motion on this to approve the ratification of the MOU. Do I have a motion from anybody?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second the motion. But
Thank
I
you.
do have a comment regarding
Yes, Eleanor.
what I just heard. I think, you're comparing apples and avocados. All right. Del Mar has the average income in Del Mar is $190,000 versus Oceanside, which the average income is $60,000 or a little bit less than that. You have a situation where you have the educational awareness level of parents is a little bit more sophisticated than what we have in Oceanside. And I'll just be frank and honest about it. I've taught in Del Mar, so I know. The fact that I just read 2 weeks ago, I think San Diego Union Tribune, where they said countywide there are 300 students, scholars that have COVID, have been tested positive for COVID. So I'm really concerned that the information that's being presented at the board meetings are not as consistent and perhaps the word honest as they could be. We're not here to campaign. We're here to seek information and to share information. That's the purpose of the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Eleanor. We've got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, the next item is item 7B, reappointment personnel commissioner. We have a recommendation to reappoint Anthony Alston for a 3-year term.
I'll make that
motion. Presentation? Sorry, I just did it for you, Todd.
You just did it for me, Mike. That's it. Anthony Alston's agreed to be come back and serve for another 3-year term. He is the CSEA appointed position on that 3-person panel. So we're glad that he's going to stick around, and with your approval, he'll be reappointed to the next 3-year term.
Great, thank you. Any questions, issues? If not, can I have a motion?
Yeah,
Yes, Eleanor.
I'll make the motion. I think he's been very effective in the position.
Great, thank you. Do I have a second? Stacy, begin as a second. All right. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries 5-0. Is this working, Raquel? I'm not catching your eyes in there. I'm assuming you're saying yes. I'm sorry. Great, you guys. Appreciate it. Next item, C, is a new certificated job description for a virtual teacher. Todd?
Right. So in our era of COVID, we've created some new instructional positions, and therefore we need board approval for these job descriptions. One is for the virtual classroom teacher, and the other is a virtual support teacher. These are the job descriptions that are attached for your approval.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for staff?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Great. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Okay.
Question?
Yeah, I
Eleanor,
do.
yes.
I kind of have a question. With the virtual
Yeah.
classroom, certificate person, will the district be able to offer some sort of credential or professional development towards a credential for this position in case that person may want to go to a different district later?
No, I apologize. I couldn't quite hear everything. It sounded like you asked if they're credentialed for the
So I was
position.
asking, it's kind of a forefront vanguard kind of situation, since we are doing a virtual classrooms position for teachers, is it possible for this district to develop a credential for that person that would give them the expertise?
I don't think it requires an additional credential. We're still using the CTC issued credential they're teaching and what they're.
But I'm suggesting that we offer a credential, that we go a little bit deeper to provide that person with skills and strategy and talent that they can say, hey, I'm a virtual classroom teacher.
We don't authorize credentials through the district.
Can we do that in the future?
We work with university systems that do that. So no, they're credentialed in their subject area and they're teaching in this virtual environment.
Right. We would just offer the professional development.
Okay, so we can offer the professional development. We can work with the university to offer the actual credential so that this person could eventually, or persons could eventually have this kind of credential, this kind of expertise. I'm just thinking in terms of future, education, reforms going on
We're
in
not
education.
licensed to issue credentials. I think what
I know we're not.
was indicating is we certainly would be able to hire these individuals if they wanted to pursue that through a university course program. At this point, we're only able to provide that PD piece to help them with the platforms that we're using for online instruction.
And should they request our assistance to see if there are any programs out there at the universities that offer specialized instruction, we could help them find those programs.
Well, I think something we should think about in terms of as this new era of distance learning, that's something that I think a lot of districts are kind of thinking about. I wouldn't want us to be left behind.
Yeah. If I'm hearing you, Ms. Evans, I think you're right. I mean, this could be the future. This is something that we need more and more of as more families choose this type of learning. And something we'd consider with our staff as a way to support them. And maybe universities will offer more coursework in this area too, that will be able to hire them coming in with those skill sets.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Todd, could you briefly describe the difference between the two, between the support teacher and the classroom teacher?
Thank you. Yeah. So the virtual teacher is, they're working specifically grade level. So we have one at, kindergarten, first, second, third, all the way up to fifth grade. And those are just like a regular classroom teacher that's been assigned a virtual classroom across the district. So perhaps a first grade teacher at PalmQuest is now the virtual first grade teacher for the district in this setting. So they have their class of 24 and they're able to provide that instruction. The support teachers are used a little bit more broadly. They're used in the afternoons for the asynchronistic time period. So they're assigned hours, sort of like office hours, but they're able to provide instruction to kids and families that maybe need extra support or resources with assignments, getting clarification, whatever type of support that they might need in different classes. So they provide a broader range of support for kids in the afternoon when the teacher is not in an instruction mode in the classroom.
And we have kept the virtual classroom teachers classes the same size as we're asking classroom teachers in the classroom to do, or
Right,
is that
we're following
different?
contract, so they are just regular teachers, not regular. There are great teachers that are just moved into virtual assignments, and so we're still following contract for them. So they have the regular class sizes as well.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you, guys. All right, we did vote on that. Motion carried 5-0, and we've had clarification subsequent to that. We'll move on to item number 8 under curriculum and instruction. This would be Career Technical Education Advisory Committee election of board chair. Staff presentation.
Yes, good evening, board. I'm Mercedes Levy, Associate Superintendent, Educational Support Services. I'm really excited to bring 2 items today to you about the Career Technical Education. This first one is about our advisory council, and we are bringing forward some nominees, and we accept that are very interested in CTE, knowledgeable about education, and will provide advisory services to our CTE program. So we recommend that the people who have been presented would be accepted as recommendations for the advisory committee.
And those recommendations are who, would you say?
Yeah, yes. 1 second, please. Yes, for Chris Ng for our chair and Amy Kleinman for treasurer.
Great. Any questions for staff?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
A second. Just a quick question before we vote.
Sure.
I noticed that the co-chair positions are and the secretary are not applicable. Is there a reason they're listed if we don't need them?
No, I believe that I believe they're still continuing their terms, as I believe, but I can double check that and get back to you.
They're filled. They're filled, you're saying. You think? Okay.
But I can double check.
All right.
That. Thank you, Mr. Joyce.
Great. All right, we've got a motion and a second to make these appointments. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries 5-0. Thank you, guys. Item 8B, ratification of an agreement for participation in San Diego County Career Technical Education.
Yes.
Mercedes?
Yes, so this is a great opportunity. We are accepting a grant from the San Diego County Office of Education to have some CTE funds in the amount of almost $100,000 for the 2021 school year. This will be able to buy equipment and other needed supplies for our CTE.
Great. Any questions for staff?
Is the grant written for specific purposes? I would assume it is. So do we know which pathways that's going to already, or we're going to bring that forward later?
I can bring that forward later.
Thank you. It's exciting. Great work.
Yeah, get the money. Good job. We got a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Thanks, Eleanor. Do we have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Eric. We've got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, none. Motion carries 5-0 to accept the grant. All right. Item 9, student services. 9A, ratification of a memorandum of understanding to operate before and after school programs for the 2021 school year with 5 of our providers. Staff?
Yes, we're very excited to bring forward these memorandums of understanding. This was a cooperative process with Dr. Sparks and Ms. Wiggum to work with our after school or before school providers to help ensure that we could be as flexible as possible and provide the maximum services to our students during COVID-19. So we're very excited. They stepped in to support our students for our essential workers early on and continue to do so as we move into hybrid.
All right. Any questions for staff?
Just a comment. Thank you so much. It is so needed, and thank you for being able to make this come to fruition.
Absolutely,
Excellent, excellent job.
All right, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you. We got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries 5-0. All right. Item 9B, approval of memorandum of understanding with San Diego Crime Stoppers, Inc. for the Student Speaking Out program. Staff?
Yeah. So good evening, board. What we really wanted to do here is to have a anonymous tip line that students and staff and community can access to ensure that any thing that needs to be reported, that needs to be investigated, could be reported and investigated. And so this is a subsidiary of Crime Stoppers that we've known for many, many years. And it's an agreement that we can host this on our website, and the appropriate authorities would be alerted when we get a tip. So if it's a school related tip, it would come to us. If it's for example, something else in the community, it would go to the police. And so it acts as a really great way for our community to become actively involved in their civic duty and for keeping our community safe.
Would this also incorporate or encompass some sort of bullying, anti-bullying hotline?
Yes, they would be the reporting of bullying or harassment or bias. Those are things that are reportable.
Does that even include like the virtual part of it too, with the things going on, since we're doing everything virtually? Thank you.
Yes.
Great. Any other questions or discussion? If not, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. All right, item 9C, ratification of Medi-Cal administrative claiming contract with Paradigm Healthcare Services for 2020 through 2023. Staff?
Yes. So we have an opportunity in providing services and information to our students and family about Medi-Cal covered services such as speech and language services, referrals to mental health, and a variety of other services that people may not be able to access if they were not aware of them. So what we do is we contract with this company to report the MOS services, and as part of this, we are reimbursed for assisting people with accessing those services that they need to the tune of about $1 million a year. And this company helps us facilitate it, helps us to collect the data and submit it to the state so we can recoup some of that cost that we have incurred, and also some of the referrals that we make.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Any discussion or issues? All right, we have no public speakers. All right, got a motion from member Joyce.
I'll second.
I got 3 seconds. All works. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No opposition. Motion carries 5-0. Very good. Item 11. A, approval of revised 2019-2020 unaudited actuals, excuse me. Begin with a staff presentation by Shannon.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, trustees. Unaudited actuals is coming back as staff needed to make 3 minor adjustments, 2 of which were just transfers from an unrestricted to restricted account. And the last one was an adjustment to the revenue account where we had a slight increase to revenue. With that, we brought the entire unaudited back for your approval again. And just it was included in last week with you for your with the agenda.
All right. Any questions for staff?
I'll make a motion to approve the updated unaudited actual.
I'll second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item B, approval of a listing agreement with Tierra Development Advisors for the Pacifica property. Staff?
Yes, this is to allow staff to engage in a contract agreement with Tierra Development regarding a broker for the Pacifica property. And so we will move forward with accepting proposals now for potential developers for the Pacifica property.
Any discussion or questions? If not, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All right, I got a motion from Member Eleanor Evans, a second from Raquel Alvarez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Onward with that sale. Maybe we'll get the property rezoned too, huh? All right, item 12, policy development. A, approval of revisions to board bylaw 9270, conflict of interest code for CBOC members.
Yes, both of these policies are just based on California School Board Association recommendations to stay compliant with the law, new laws, and education code. Specifically, the conflict of interest now includes Bond Citizens Oversight Committee.
All right. Any questions for staff? All right, can I have a motion on item A?
I'll make a motion.
I'll
Thank you,
second.
Eleanor. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And item 12B, again, approval of revision of board policy, uniform complaint procedures. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Eleanor. Do I have a second?
Sure. Second.
Got a second from Member Joyce. Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, that concludes our agendized business. We have, I think, up to 4 public comments on the non-agenda items this evening. And we'll call out the names. Please keep your comments focused on relevant issues to the board, on items that are not on this agenda, and you have 3 minutes once you get promoted. So first member to speak will be?
We have 4, and they will come in this order: Tiffany Ketchum, Todd Madison, Elaine Kiswick, and Catherine Seams.
Great. Tiffany?
Hi, board and guests. I'd like to briefly, sorry, I apologize. My name is Tiffany Ketchum. I'd like to briefly speak to the board about some unanswered concerns. I'd like to know what is going to happen to children that are on IEPs and others that can't go back to in-person learning at this time due to high medical reasons. They can't be forced into Surfside where their needs cannot be properly met, including for these, as it will reduce their progress and causes disruption to their case management teams and requires a change in placement, among other things, which is a huge concern for these students. I'm trying to figure out if they, meaning the board and the district, can actually force us out of our home school, or if the school should accommodate through the IEP so that their class and teams stay intact for multiple reasons. It's making me sad that this hasn't been answered publicly for the kids and families with these concerns, which, although are not a huge portion of families in OUSD, those families are not insignificant either. We want to be back at our home school when safe, but what is able to be done until we can do so? All children deserve a free and appropriate education, even during times like this through this COVID crisis and risk. How many live minutes online, in person, or online with the teacher will the different school levels actually have, especially elementary, once on the hybrid schedule starts? When you factor in class breaks and nutrition and all of these safety measures are going to take up and eat up into the educational day, it's far less. This will increase the negative impact to children with special needs, and this needs to be considered as we switch to these learning models. I know that you can't directly necessarily answer me right now, but I would like to bare minimum hear when this could be addressed, because I think that it's being forgotten or pushed off, And it's concerning to me that I've asked this question of administration multiple times, and everybody has only been able to say, we're hoping for an answer soon. These children and these families deserve an answer. Thank you very much, board. I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Tiffany. Appreciate your comments. Next. Todd?
All right, thanks.
Go, you're on.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks, Greg. Okay, I'm still a parent. I'm still a candidate. I'm still Todd Madison. Regarding Eleanor's early comments, I had to put this in. I don't believe COVID infections have anything to do with the income of the population. Del Mar is receiving the same COVID mitigation funding per student we are, and I suggest she simply look at Del Mar's own COVID dashboard if she wants numbers. To suggest that I, of all people, make up numbers as a part of a campaign is ridiculous. I find it offensive. Meanwhile, in the past, when I was a co-leader of the Parent Advisory Committee and a member of the LCAP committee, we put great effort into finding out what parents thought about the education of their kids. Now, as a candidate, I've been walking neighborhoods and I've stood on 2,785 doorsteps. I know many of the people I've talked to are listening, and I have to say thanks for all the great conversations we've had. I haven't met anyone who says they've met Dr. Evans or Mr. Blessing on their door, by the way. I've spoken to single mothers who feel guilty about leaving their elementary kids at home all day to navigate the computer maze on their own, and they hope to get an education. I've spoken to Hispanic families who don't speak enough English to help their little kids in their online classes, and as Eric mentioned, have to depend on secondary school siblings to help out, sacrificing their own school time. I've spoken to parents of kids with special needs who feel they can't provide the kind of specialized instruction their kids need and are worried about the long-term impact. I've spoken to parents who have decided the best thing to do is to create a neighborhood pod or take their kids to a local charter. I've even spoken to parents who have the flexibility to literally leave the state to move their kids to a place where in-person learning is happening. The education of our kids is that important to our parents. Enrollment is now down 7%. If that holds, revenue will be down $17 million next year, which will start a cycle of employee layoffs and more cuts to programs and services for our kids. Does it surprise anyone that customers leave if you don't provide what they want? Maybe we need to do something different here. Maybe we need to elect board members who understand that the customer comes first and understand you can't continually make decisions that benefit the employees over and above the customers without there being an impact. Maybe we need board members willing to stand up for what our parents want for the education of their kids. I would urge anyone listening to this to help in that effort by voting for me, Todd Madison, in this election. If you have your ballot, mark it tonight. If you'd like to do your part to make parent voices heard, spread the word to your friends and neighbors. You can go to my website, toddforkids.com, todd4kids.com, sign up for the email list and volunteer there. Let's put kids first in Oceanside education. Vote Todd Madison for school board. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Madison. Next up, Elaine.
Hello, I'm Elaine Keswick. I would like to speak about my daughter Coral, who attends a special education preschool class in the district. Coral is nonverbal, has autism, intellectual disability, and significant gross motor and fine motor challenges. I've chosen to share about Coral to help you better understand why her challenges and unique needs make distance learning inappropriate for her and make it essential for her to have the opportunity to learn in a classroom. I've attended every board meeting since June. I feel obligated to share how disappointed I am in OUSD for their lack of honest and transparent communication throughout this whole process. Here's a timeline to help you better understand. Schools in San Diego County were able to open on September 1st. After the September board meeting, it was announced that small cohorts of students with special needs would be returning on September 28th. On September 23rd, the district's website still said that some special needs students would be returning on September 28th. So on this date, I reached out to the district to confirm my daughter's return schedule for that week. Only after I reached out to the district was I told that the dates had been pushed back and would be discussed at the September 29th board meeting. As soon as the district knew the timeline for reopening would not be met, which was at least by the week prior, A message should have gone out to all special education families. No message was sent. At the board meeting on September 29th, Coral's return was pushed back by another 5 weeks to November 2nd. Furthermore, her special education preschool class was not included in any proposed hybrid schedule, even when the state preschool did have a proposed schedule. Throughout all of this, there has been no clear explanation for why Coral cannot return. In a letter from the superintendent on September 22nd, it seemed like she was trying to use misleading statements to justify a postponement. Her letter stated, Oceanside has the 5th highest case count in San Diego County out of more than 40 cities. However, she failed to mention that Oceanside is the 3rd largest city in the county. Proportionally speaking, we are actually doing better than expected. Using the City of Oceanside's daily case count website, I computed the daily average of new cases for the weeks leading up to the September 8th and the September 29th board meetings. Respectively, the average was 18 and 12.7 cases per day. The average actually went down. If daily average is lower, what reason is there to postpone a return in small cohorts for our most impacted students, including Coral? Since September 1st, San Diego County, including the City of Oceanside, had the green light to provide Coral with at least some in-class time to educate her in an appropriate way, which she is guaranteed to by law. However, it is 43 days later and OUSD has failed to provide her with that. This is a major compliance problem for OUSD. Compounding this delayed return for Coral is the lack of proactive communication for the district. It only adds to the frustration and anxiety so many parents feel right now. I sincerely hope that the district becomes more honest and transparent in their communication moving forward. I also hope the district and the board acts with urgency in bringing back the most impacted students, including Coral. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Elaine. Last speaker, Catherine.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Catherine. I'm just, I don't talk very well, so forgive me if I get mumbled, but I have a few questions. What are the plans for increasing number of kids who are failing, even with tutoring, with the stresses and anxiety that this brings, and the teachers being strict and not being understanding of how this is going? Kids don't always learn the best in front of a screen, so an increasing number of kids are failing. And so what is your guys's thoughts and discussions on that, and what are we going to do to help them, because we're going to have way less kids passing with what's going on. And then why are we only doing 2 days a week? Why not 5 days a week? I don't understand what 2 days a week difference is versus 5 days. If anything, we can do like different times when half the kids go back and half of them, you know, in the morning, or maybe half of them in the evening, or in the afternoon, especially when there's going to be shorter days anyways. And then I'm sure there's a ton of parents who don't want their kids to go back, so there's not going to be an increased full capacity in the school in the first place. And then also with the masks, I understand needing the mask, but like in a restaurant, you go, you wear your mask, and then when you sit down, you take them off. Being around a bunch of people, what is your discussions about the kids in class while they're sitting 6 feet apart? If they're already 6 feet apart, they don't need masks. So maybe when they're sitting down doing their classwork, they can have their masks off versus having them on for such a long period of time. And also, what these questions that are being asked, are we going to get answers from them, or because I remember last time I went to one of these, none of the questions got answered, and I was trying to up in the air what those answers were. Thanks.
Thank you, Catherine. Appreciate your public comments. Those items were not on the agenda, so we cannot address those or respond to those, but I urge you to stay in contact with your teacher, your principal at your school, with your child, and hang in there with us. All right, that concludes the public comments. Any board staff discussion for this evening before we adjourn?
I just want to reiterate that we are working to get equitable services to the communities that need it, including special ed, including English learners. We're advocating for that at every turn. Staff is working really hard to get that in place. We know there are lots of teachers that are chomping at the bit. I know that not everybody is, but there are lots of teachers that are ready, and students. We know students learn better in the classroom. That's undeniable. We know that. So we all want that to happen. We're all working really hard to get there. So I just wanted to say that and to hang in there. We know that it's affected everybody differently. So the only other piece I wanted to bring up is looking at the emergency authorization that we started back in March when this started, when the epidemic started, and just bringing it up to the board that it may be time to revisit the authorization because it was put in place so that our administration could make nimble moves when they needed to during an unprecedented pandemic, which we've never experienced. And now we're in a space where information is coming in that we can make decisions as a board in response to the things that are coming. It's not coming so fast that we're drowning in information and need to make this kind of nimble move. So I just, in the space of board discussions, we'll put that to the board too.
Thank you, Eric. Other members have closing comments?
I do have something.
Yeah.
In regards to what Mr. Joyce was talking about with our students, for all our families that are out there, if you see a need or if you feel that we're not reaching out to you or that you're not being communicated to in a timely manner, I ask that you please reach out to your principals and to your teachers directly so that we can get the help that you may need. If you're not getting, especially if you have a special ed student and you're not being communicated to in a manner or in a time frame that you know should already been accessed to you or accessible to you, I ask that you please reach out. I know that you have to understand there's a lot of students and there's a lot of needs going on right now. And as a parent myself, I know I've had to reach out multiple times to teachers and to counselors for my own son. And it's not always the first time in the first initial contact because there are multiple students that have needs. So please reach out to your school sites. It is important that you know that they are there for you and they're there to support you just as much as we are, but they're your first initial contact. So please reach out to them.
Thank you, Raquel. Eleanor, anything to close? Stacy? If not, then I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you all for attending. I think we had 300 and some this evening, which was a little less than in the past, but we had already kind of issued out some of the timelines that are out there for when we're going to return kids to school. We've got a plan, and we're implementing it, and we're going to get back to classes November 9th. So we'll see you all then. Thanks, everybody. Good night.
The next time we talk, kids will be in school.
Good night.
Yes.